From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hey, it's a Monday night. Hi, everybody. Rory Johnston sitting in the OpenLine chair tonight. Jessica on vacation this week, but we're pleased you have joined us, and we hope you will take advantage of this next hour and call in. That's why we call it OpenLine. We open our phone lines for you, the viewers, to call in and talk with local officials and local experts on different topics. And tonight, it is a topic that has definitely raised a lot of eyebrows, raised a lot of questions throughout the mid-state. And we're talking about the AMP project. We want to welcome our guests tonight. Steve Goodrow is here. He's an engineer, principal with the engineering and consulting firm CDM Smith, and also Bert Matthews is here from the AMP Citizens Advisory Committee, the chair of that committee, I should say. Thanks to both of you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Where are we with the AMP? Here we are, the summer's flying by. We just got off the newscast talking about kids going back to school already. Give us a status update, if you will, either of you, on where we are with this project, because just a few weeks ago, a number of changes Mayor Dean announced, right?
Right. We're in the midst of updating the design from the original 30% so that we incorporate some of these new details. And we're also working with the CAC committee to gain feedback from the advisory committee itself.
Do you feel like that feedback is being heard and being used?
I definitely do. The mayor put together a group of citizens, and we're sitting and listening, and we're taking it one section of the route at a time and really looking at it almost on a foot-by-foot basis.
Right. Now, tell me about this citizens group. Who comprises it? And, I mean, has the mayor actually been involved with this, or others? How do the meetings run?
So, a couple of different questions.
Yeah.
So, there are about 25 of us. They were appointed, some by the mayor, and then all of the elected officials on the line, whether they were city council people or state legislators, everybody got to pick a person to go on there. So we've got people that are opposed to the project. We've got people that are for it. We've got people that are approaching it the first time. So there's a lot of learning and a lot of dialogue that's been going on.
Why do you think initially, and there continues to be, but initially there was so much pushback when this was announced?
So a variety of reasons. There was some misinformation that was out there. We've been working with the route to try to make it better, so there have been improvements along the line. And just a whole learning experience. We don't have anything like this in Nashville today, and so I think it's just been a large learning experience.
Why is something like this needed? I mean, why take action with this corridor in particular? And in the larger scheme of things, we're going to have to look at several other corridors down the line.
Well,
too.
so I would tell you that as we grow, we're going to bring more people into this community, 1 million more people into our region in the next 25 years, and those people are going to need to be able to get around. And if we don't have some type of mass transit system to be able to move people back and forth, we will basically choke. West End Avenue, how many more lanes can you build for cars to go on that street? How many lanes of the interstate can you widen? We are at the point now where we've got to think of other solutions other than packing more cars onto a particular street.
Mm-hmm. So give us an update now on some of the changes that the mayor announced. Actually, it was back in April. And one of the biggest things is he said that the new plan calls for the AMP now to be curb service and not running down the middle. Is that right?
There is one
for
section.
That section, right.
There's one section between 440 and
out to St. Thomas
out
West.
To St. Thomas West. Yes, in that section, it will be curb running in traffic. So that seemed to be the major opposition in that part of town. And so he made that change, and then brought the Citizens Advisory Committee together to explore things in a much greater detail and hopefully expand people's knowledge about all the different things that Steve and his firm are working on.
Now, Steve, we should point out also 737 plus, the phone number, if you'd like to call in. We'd like your opinion, your thoughts on the AMP bus rapid transit system here in Nashville. Our phones are wide open at 737-7587. You've worked on similar projects in other cities. Tell us a little bit about the
project, the Health Line in Cleveland. Worked some on in Grand Rapids, the Silver Line. Working on a study phase for the Ashland Avenue in Chicago, Stevens Creek in San Jose.
Okay.
So working on several of these.
What is your take and what makes this particular project unique for Nashville?
What's unique is just the urban character of the corridor itself and all the many uses, and it's trying to get the operation of the corridor to work with the various stakeholders along the corridor. And that's really what's important about these dialogues that we're having, is to really understand what those uses are, needs are, and make sure that people understand that, and then adapt some things as necessary.
Bert mentioned in the beginning the misinformation that was out there. What you think it's clearer now that it's been out, and there have been forums, there have been discussions like this.
I think
is
so.
A little clear, you know.
One example would be emergency service. There was some concern early on that, you know, fire trucks and ambulances couldn't use the bus lane, and they can.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty clear people kind of understand that. At the last few community meetings, those questions didn't come up anymore. So I think you know, some things are getting out there, and people are learning more about how these operate.
And that's not to say, Rory, that everybody's going to be happy with it all the way through. I mean, it is it's a large project that's going to have a lot of impact, but we've got to figure out how to move this forward in the future. And so grappling with these issues on this particular line is going to really set a framework for how we deal with this on every other corridor that we work on.
We've talked before here to regional transportation folks, and I'm sure, because it's not just Metro Nashville, we are talking about Metro Nashville, I should say, and the donut counties surrounding, and that RTA has such a stake in all of this, because you mentioned those numbers. We've all seen the growth numbers that the census and all the estimates show of how many people are going to be moving in to this area. And so I would imagine that transportation officials all around are keeping a close eye on how this plays out, the planning, the feedback phases, et cetera, and of course the funding, which we'll get to, because there are big issues about getting in and out of the downtown Nashville core out to the suburbs, I would imagine, right?
And so really the issue is one of mobility.
Right.
People need to be able to go from where they work to or from where they live to where they work, back and forth. And if their whole time is spent in the car, I mean, that's a quality of life issue that we don't, I mean, is one that Nashvillians, I don't believe, are going to be able to accept. So what we've got is the initial spine of what will be a plan that will really encompass not only Davidson County, but the counties around, so that we will have a transportation system that, as Murfreesboro gets to be the size of Chattanooga, or Franklin gets to be the size of Chattanooga, that people will be able to come back and forth. Otherwise, we're just going to be stuck.
Right. No doubt about it. All right, 737 plus is the phone number if you'd like to call in. We're going to take our first break, and we'll be back to discuss more of the AMP project right after this. Stay with us.